The big question at the moment is, can the batch of 2024 repeat the heroics of the batch of 2022 and a couple of other batches before that as well? Because remember, India are chasing history in South Africa. Five-time champions as far as the under-19 men's World Cup is concerned, and now gunning for a sixth title. There's been a change in format, a change in venue also, because remember, the under-19 World Cup just about a couple of months back was to take place in Sri Lanka, but now it's taking place in South Africa. So we'll tell you about the venues, we'll tell you about the groups, we'll tell you about the format as well, which by the way has undergone a change from the format that you saw the last time around as well. So be with us as we tell you everything that you need to know about the under-19 World Cup, which has now kick-started in South Africa. So let's just go ahead and first tell you what are the key dates that you should be knowing at this particular moment as the tournament kick-starts now on the 19th of January. The final happening on the 11th of February. But before that, of course, you will have the semi-finals 1 and 2, of course, take place on the 6th and the 8th of February, after which you will have the final then take place on the 11th of February in Benoni, which is of course one of the 5 venues that you're looking at. Since you're talking about venues, we already told you in Benoni you're going to be looking at the final take place. Let's tell you about the other venues which are going to be hosting World Cup matches as far as the under-19 tournament is concerned. But before we head into the venues, let's quickly take a look at the groups and where India stand, what is the competition India are looking at, and where are some of the other teams tagged. Let's tell you about that now. So Group A, that's where India are in. Their opponents will be Bangladesh, Ireland and the United States of America. Group B, let's take a look at Group B now. You've got England, South Africa, West Indies and Scotland in Group B, followed by Group C, which has Australia, Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, Namibia. And lastly, you've got Group D, which is the final and the fourth group, which has Afghanistan, Pakistan, New Zealand and Nepal. So these are all the participating teams that we told you about and how they've been staggered into different groups, how they've been put into different groups, competing against each other in a unique format of sorts. What's that format and what's that change that the tournament has undergone from the last time? We'll tell you about that as well. Very interesting what they've done this time around the ICC. But let's now take a look at the venues. These are the 5 venues you're looking at as far as this edition of the Under-19 World Cup is concerned. Remember, last time around as well, in the year gone by rather, you had the Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup take place in South Africa, which India, by the way, won. A job now for the boys to go ahead and repeat that sort of a feat. And you had some of those matches last year also take place on a couple of these venues as well. But here are the venues of this year's edition of the Under-19 World Cup for the men's side. So you've got Potchefstroom, Bloemfontein, Benoni, where you've got the final where it will be taking place, Kimberley and East London. So these are the 5 venues which are going to be hosting all the games that you're going to be seeing, including the semi-final and the final of this year's edition. And now let's lift the lid over that one thing that you've perhaps been waiting for. What's the format? What's that difference that they've made this time around? Rather interesting, as I said. So let's lift the lid now and tell you what the format for this year's edition looks like. 16 teams, all of which are broken down into 4 groups of 4 each. As we showed you, will be divided into groups of 4. So that's done, and that we've already told you about what the groups look like. But what happens now as the teams compete each against each other in the respective groups? Now the top 3 teams will qualify for the Super Sixes. So you're only looking at omission of 1 team from every group. So there's only going to be 4 teams of the 16 that you're looking at which get eliminated after the group stage gets over, and after that you see the Super Sixes stage take place, in which, as you would guess, there'd be 2 groups of 6 each that will be formed, and that's exactly point number 2 that we have for you. Top 3 teams from each group will qualify for the Super Sixes, after which 12 teams will be divided into 2 groups of 6 each, and then they compete with each other, after which the 2 teams from each group will then qualify for the semi-final, and obviously the winners of the semi-final then meet each other in Benoni for the final, which will take place in the month of February, and that is what the format for this year's edition is gonna look like. Can India in this new format repeat a feat which they achieved last time around and extend that record, as we earlier told you, from 5-time champions to becoming record extending 6-time champions? That we'll have to wait and watch.